Hello, and welcome back to English Echo. This is part 2 of our story, The Man Who Started With Nothing. In part 1, we met Daniel, a young man who grew up in poverty, a young man who discovered the power of books, and a young man who chose hope instead of giving up. But today, Daniel's journey becomes much more difficult. Because dreams are easy when they exist only in your imagination. The real challenge begins when you try to make them real. Let's continue. Daniel woke up early every morning, before the sun appeared, before most people opened their eyes. While the town was still quiet, he would sit at a small wooden table. A table that had scratches and cracks from years of use. There, he studied, he learned, he planned, and he dreamed. Every morning, he asked himself the same question. What can I do today to improve my future? Not next year, not next month, today. That question changed everything.
Many people spend their lives waiting for opportunity, waiting for luck, waiting for the perfect moment. But Daniel began to understand something important. The perfect moment rarely arrives. Sometimes you must create your own opportunity. One afternoon, Daniel discovered a scholarship program. It was designed for students from low-income families. The competition was intense. Thousands of students would apply. Only a few would be selected. Most people would have looked at those numbers and walked away. Daniel decided to try. What do I have to lose, he thought. For weeks, he worked on his application. Every sentence mattered. Every detail mattered. He revised it again, and again, and again. Some nights, he stayed awake until midnight. Not because someone forced him, because he cared. Because he believed this opportunity could change his life.
Finally, he submitted the application. Then came the hardest part. Waiting. Days passed. Then weeks. Every time he heard his phone ring, his heart raced. Every email felt important. Every notification created hope. And then, one morning, the message arrived. Daniel opened it. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast. He read the first sentence, then the second, then the third. And suddenly, his face changed. The scholarship committee had rejected him. The room became silent. His dream seemed to disappear in a single moment. Months of effort, months of hope, gone. Daniel sat quietly, staring at the screen, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to think. For the first time in a long time, he felt defeated. Have you ever experienced disappointment like that? Have you ever worked hard for something and failed? Perhaps you studied for an exam. Perhaps you applied for a job. Perhaps you chased a dream. And despite your effort, things didn't work out. It hurts. It feels unfair. And sometimes it makes us question ourselves. Daniel felt exactly that way. For several days, he stopped reading. He stopped planning. He stopped dreaming. The rejection had affected him deeply. One evening, his father noticed the change. He sat beside Daniel. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Then his father asked quietly, "What's wrong?" Daniel showed him the rejection email. His father read it carefully. Then he smiled. A small smile. Not because he was happy, but because he understood something Daniel didn't. His father looked at him and said, "One rejection cannot decide your future." Daniel remained silent. His father continued,
If one closed door could destroy a dream, nobody would ever succeed. Those words stayed with Daniel long after the conversation ended. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about his dream, thinking about the rejection, thinking about his future. Then, suddenly, he realized something. The scholarship was only one path, not the only path. One opportunity had disappeared, but many opportunities still existed. The dream was still alive.
Next morning, Daniel returned to his books. He returned to learning. He returned to planning. Because he understood something powerful. Failure is an event, not an identity. Failing does not make you a failure. Giving up does. Over the next year, Daniel worked harder than ever. He accepted part-time jobs. Sometimes he worked in a warehouse. Sometimes he helped local businesses. Sometimes he worked long hours doing physically demanding tasks. The work was exhausting, but every paycheck moved him closer to his goal. Something interesting began to happen. Daniel stopped seeing problems as enemies. Instead, he started seeing them as teachers. Every challenge taught him patience. Every setback taught him resilience. Every obstacle taught him creativity. And little by little, his confidence grew. One day, while working at a small company, Daniel met a manager named Michael. Michael was successful, confident, respected. But unlike many successful people, he was approachable. He treated everyone with respect, regardless of their position. Daniel admired that. Over time, Michael noticed Daniel's attitude. He noticed that Daniel arrived early. He noticed that Daniel worked hard. He noticed that Daniel asked questions. Most importantly, he noticed that Daniel wanted to learn. One afternoon, Michael invited Daniel to lunch. Daniel felt nervous. He wondered why. During lunch, Michael asked a simple question. "What do you want from life?" Daniel hesitated. Then he answered honestly, "I want to build a better future." Michael nodded. Then he asked another question. "What are you doing to make that happen?" Daniel explained everything. The books, the studying, the jobs, the failures, the dreams. Michael listened carefully. When Daniel finished speaking, Michael said something that would change his life. "Your circumstances are temporary." Daniel looked surprised. Michael continued, "But your habits will determine your future." Those words became another turning point, because Daniel realized success wasn't built in dramatic moments. It was built in ordinary days, ordinary choices, ordinary actions repeated consistently. From that day forward, Daniel became even more disciplined. He created goals, daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals. He tracked his progress. He celebrated small victories. And for the first time, he felt real momentum. But life wasn't finished testing him. In fact, his biggest challenge was still ahead. A challenge that would force him to risk everything. A challenge that would make him question whether he was truly ready. And a challenge that would eventually lead him toward the opportunity he had always dreamed about. As we end part 2, I want you to remember something. A closed door is not the end. A rejection is not the end. A setback is not the end. Sometimes life redirects us towards something better, but only if we continue moving forward. Thank you for listening to part 2 of The Man Who Started With Nothing. In part 3, Daniel will face his biggest challenge yet. A challenge that could either transform his life or break his confidence completely. We'll find out together.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never underestimate the power of persistence. This is English Echo, and I'll see you in part 3.